Ah. All right, welcome HBAR 330s to your second last lesson, which is lesson 119. I know the jump between 96 and 119 is a bit abrupt, but what happens is just to kind of put this in context, 56 lesson 56 to 1 to basically 131 is all covering the same the obviously well 103 should I say is oh yeah that's right there yeah that's right and that's right this is about your broadcast and then these are all compressed into 3 or 4 or 5 6 lessons that we are obviously that you can see that is online and digital and yeah, and we're nearly at the end there, right? We did chat about the important half dozen in the last lesson, but today I want to just kind of break it down. It's going to be a very short lesson. Again, these final lessons are very short, and it has to do obviously again with you looking at your shows and knowing exactly what to break down and be able to crit for yourself. So when you are going through this lesson, take a show of your own and dissect it with each one of these elements and say, yes, we're doing this correct, we are doing this correct, we're doing this correct. I'm doing this correct, or I'm doing that correct as well. Okay. All right. Let's get into the recap of what the important half dozen is. Music, playlisting, okay, to get through the hours, music, tempo, the clock structure, etc. Content, is it, is the content relevant, relatable? Are there great stories that are being told? Were there any emotions and empathy in the way that you were able to, deliver that content and connect with that listener at the end of the day? Callers that you might have put on or voice notes that you might have used that were valuable to, again, kind of progressing that story and being able to, just add some value there as well. Benchmarks that were met, your features, your news, etc. Water cooler effect, so being able to make sure that that it's something that someone else would like to talk about further within their day. And then how did you tease properly in your links that were generic, right? How did you tease towards or to the next link, right? Multi-platform, right? Are you using different platforms in and they being used contextually in the correct way? So again, your TikTok, your Instagram, YouTube, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, and your X as well as part of those that make up those social media platforms, as well as maybe post production in podcasting as well. Great moments that you can just repackage and then obviously post up to Spotify and Apple, right? Your basics, so service elements, enthusiasm, passion, and buy-in, promotion, time management, in performance, energy, your energy. Like, are you like, do you want to be there? That's a big thing. Are you having a good time? Like, do you enjoy what you're doing? Your character is interesting. Is it something that someone can picture? As we've said before, are you authentic? Is there chemistry between you and a listener? Do you have your own personal chemistry that you, again, like you radiate as well, talking to, or are you talking at that listener as well? And then imaging and money matters, things that obviously bring in. Like that really, I mean, people do not like a messy product as well. And then when I say people, both the customers are our clients and our listeners as well. All right, so now we're going to just break them down for you. So in within music and the playlist itself, very important to stick to your playlist. With us in particular, you've been given songs that just pop up, at obviously Boston Broadcast, and you just got to play them. You got to play them in that order. And we have spoken throughout the year of the way that clocks are the why clocks are important and the way clocks are integrated into our systems like RCS, Zeta, as well as Genesis that you are currently using, as well as two of the many, 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 many examples of playback systems that you can actually have. And the reasoning behind why playlisting is so important, the rotation is so important, right? It's the music compiler, and they have the know-how and the knowledge, expertise on how to create a balance and obviously make a person that's listening to the station listen a little longer, right? For all existing categories in rotation that reflect your listeners, music wants via focus groups that obviously you know and again you're familiar with. It's so nice actually being at this point of the year because you are very aware of all these things because now we've done them in first, second, and now third and final year. Of course, top charts very important for us as well for that high rotation, and then what is going to be a hit for our our audience, our demographic, right? So getting through the hours music very important. Again, it's there. Like the music is much more important than what you have to say at the end of the day. And you also need to know about time management, which is something that we will cover as a basic just a little bit later on in another slide as well. So music is top of the list alongside spots, news, and promos. Not any one DJ can justify why their link is more important to the music in comparison to the music or what is mentioned above. For example, like I say, those reasoning, the reasoning, should I say, behind playlisting. Right, tempo is very important. Okay, so now that is not necessarily something that you, as a DJ, have control of. As a manager, you do, and again, as a music manager or music compiler, you do. Um, but could be affected, obviously, like with a feature that you might bring in that might be music oriented. The tempo of the music, like according to your rotation, as well as the temperature of the show. Perhaps it's something that's a speciality show. It's a dance show. We need to make sure that it is dance music. It's not like these slow jams or whatever it may be, and we must maintain a natural tempo that moves quite nicely. So at any one point throughout the show, let's say on a normal show, right? So like any other day part, evening part, whatever it is, show. We want to make sure that we don't have these massive EDM songs that are like either predecessing or successing this this very, very, very kind of like yeah, like let's say like a Kwaito or I'm a piano song. It sounds terrible as well. It just doesn't make sense. But also here's another thing: we don't want to have back to 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 back EDM music. And like within a normal rotation, I'm saying that the rotation within a normal show. If we let's say now say you have an EDM show, you will still not only play kind of like one note stuff, even though EDM does sound like one note to some people, right? But there's going to be a variation of like mixes, and there'll be there's even obviously there's different tempos within that particular genre, etc., etc., right? So again, very important to keep the tempo in a way that the listener doesn't ever feel jarred. Again, jarring the listener is a big no-no in all ways that we are executing our show. Clock structure. The show clock is pivotal in construction of the show and its dynamics. Right. I'm just going to zoom that in just a little bit here because I know you want me to actually say, well, Chris, why aren't you just putting this as a slide? I like to do this thing here, like point, point, point. Anyway, oh yeah, I like a slideshow. All right, so the content here, once again, the relevance of that content, is it relevant to your demographic for that time of the day of the week of the month of the year, also that particular demographic in the age and the SEM and the importance of what it is that they're going through in their lives, the relatability that you are constructing the show to touch home, like that, to touch the like, when you say touch home, I'm saying in my home is one thing, but you touch my heart, man. Just get me here. I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. That sounds great. I definitely know. I'm definitely driving with this particular show as well as this particular presenter, right? Great stories. We mustn't forget to make what we are saying a story that is being told? Did you go with what came to mind first, or did you explore better ways to maybe enrich that story? So we always tired. I get that. Well, yeah, predominantly we are tired, and work is exhausting and life is exhausting and this and that or whatever it may be. And also we have too much information out there and too much choice, I suppose. So when you do go through a feed or when you are on like on YouTube or whatever it is, and you are looking like for inspiration for what it is that you could talk about, there's just so much. I get that. I do get that. And no one is saying you must sit there forever and ever, but you do need to go and look at a couple of options, to be like, okay, I've watched this. Let let that inspire me. So, for example, let's talk about saving money, right? So you would maybe go find a good tutorial on how to save money, whether when you're earning less than 5,000 rand, for example, and then you would say, okay, let me see, that's inspired me to say, okay, what brands? Let me go look at how to let me bounce off that and see how emotional buying, shopping actually affects my, the way that I spend money and what I spend it on. If it is 5,000 bucks, it might go towards the wrong places, whatever it may be. How to maybe go throughout or get through a year with an entry level salary is another way of being able to also go look for information. And we just kind of like we look at those ideas and say, okay, cool, until I'm kind of finished with the idea and it makes for a good contribution to the listener's life, we'll be like, okay, this is great. I'm going to stop over there, and that's enough for what I'm doing or I have done to enrich this particular piece of content, right? Okay, let's continue. Was the any emotion and empathy? So theater of the mind obviously is crucial. You do know that because that's we're listening with audio, so you know that, right? And we have also discussed how it's very important to describe those parts of the story that are important for the story to move along, right? So to be able to be empathetically connected or related to that listener is affected by how you decide your content is important and within their lives, right? So that empathy of understanding that you are talking about mm, these kind of the end of the year burnout, where maybe a lot of students are just so exhausted, and they just when it comes to the summative, right? For example, they just are in a personal, obviously because you're doing things individually, tend to want the summative, right? So in a personal context, you're just done. You will do the least amount for it. You just cannot get through it, and you're hitting these weird brick walls that you don't really feel like you want to talk to anyone about because you are so tired. You're also tired of the year. You're also tired of working. You're also tired of the stress and whatever it is. And so the thing is that we would like to make sure that as a broadcaster we understand that particular person, and also the first and last things that are going through their mind in that particular day, as they are struggling through that. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Callers that are valuable, don't just put on a caller for the sake of putting a caller on, of like filling space. It is always nice when you do have a lot of voice notes or you do have a lot of callers calling in and stuff, and you'd like to be that presenter that does want to give them an opportunity to be on air. But again, links need to be tight, and callers, there are callers that are better than other callers, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You can't put five, six callers back to back to back to back to back to back. It's just too much. Do you understand? And we're talking about music radio specifically, right? So be very picky when it comes to quality callers that can add a value. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Okay, anyway. I thought I wasn't recording anyway. Yeah, that they can add some value to the story that you're telling. The benchmarks, like are not debatable, right? You must reach them, and beyond that you reach must be what you aim to excel in. Okay, so do like make sure that you are like even like when it's at the 2 seconds past 7 o'clock, you are playing the news. It's like you're playing adverts exactly on time as scheduled. You are playing those jingles nice and tight. You're not cutting music off. That type of benchmark, a feature, a competition, a promo, everything, right? The water cooler effect, okay. For yours is again that extension of not necessarily now. I think it's a little bit old school to think that people do talk around a water cooler, right? But it's a social space, right? The water cooler. Where you go and collect water for yourself, and you just have a little bit of a drink wherever you are working or whatever it is, right? People gather around a particular area. Maybe it's outside, maybe it's in a smoking area, maybe it's around the office, or and now we're talking like corporate in the corporate space, whatever it may be, right? But it could also be at a braai. It could be when you go and catch up with your sister or your friends, whatever it is. Like, did what you have to say carry any weight in a listener wanting to carry on the conversation from outside the radio? Might have noted that a lot of your and this particular point. Let me finish my train of thought. Right, they might have also used many examples throughout your teaching, right, of what had happened on radio, and there was this conversation, and that conversation, or whatever it is, right? Now that let me get to the next point. I was going to say yes, I know that we have to actually use examples, but they wouldn't have had a water cooling effect if they didn't stand out, to say, okay, well, listen, yeah, like they maybe were very drastic, or maybe they were very important, or look at the way that they say this, or this interview is so great, or whatever it is. We wouldn't have used them, right? Okay, so water cooler effects and teasing, man. Effective teasing increases time spent listening. Okay, so, and that is as clear as that gets. With our multi platforms, right? Are you using the platforms correctly? So, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, your podcasting, the station's landing page itself, all together nicely, and also cross promotion, very important as well. So when you see like one of your friends, like I say, your co-workers, or the station is promoting something, or they need something, they're doing a survey, they're doing a poll, whatever, share that as well. To your own followers on your private, I say your private professional pages and accounts, right? And again, are you using it correctly? Just this week, and not because I'm so like I haven't done it before. I'm experimenting with lives, right? Lives are always a bit tricky because um, I say they're a bit tricky. For me, I don't see the value of a TikTok live because of the post production that I actually want from it, and the way that TikTok does make it extremely like it was like I did a TikTok live this week. It went very well. It was great. I think I spoke for about 22 minutes or so, which I was surprised about because I was actually trying to get a collaborator on as well. It wasn't working because there was some kind of premium that I had to pay, or this or whatever it may have been. I don't know. Right. The point is, it doesn't matter. Within that moment, I said, okay, cool. Let's just carry on. Let's talk to these couple of hundred people that are joining in. And you know how TikTok is. I mean, they like hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people for people that have like zillion followers or so. Those are big, obviously traffic draws, right? Anyway, my point is the TikTok live went really well. It was cool. It was great. There was again some nice interaction there as well, which I wasn't really expecting just because I was using this as a test, just to conquer the TikTok live area, and also know how I can now maybe manipulate that to do some post production. But the post production was a nightmare. That this is the part. It took me like about 2 hours before I got bored. Genuinely, where you could do it either on your. I know you can download the video, and this is maybe the easier way of doing it. But I wanted to. I didn't want to go that route. I want to see if TikTok would allow me to just edit on TikTok, and it obviously creates the different little highlights to say this is when you had the most interaction. This is when it like was a profound point, or there was this was when most listeners were actually tuned in, or whatever it may be, right? And that's cool and all. But the thing is that with those highlighted extractions, right, you can't edit them afterwards. And it's like, oh, I mean, like, oh, you can't even put like a little bit of a sticker on that, which is really annoying as well. The other alternative is obviously then downloading the entire video, going to your editing software, video editing software, and then going to go create that post promotion. So in that way, TikTok was it was useful live aspect wise. Otherwise, TikTok's just a monster, man. Like it's a beast. And it's something to always have to figure out how to use Facebook, how to use Twitter, like X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. I did decide to then do, like I say, an ad hoc Instagram live, which I found worked for me a lot better. Had a collaborator on, worked a lot better. Definitely know how to do it a bit more professionally as well. But it was enjoyed more by my audience on Instagram more than I feel. Just again, the TikTok one was for me. But I'm talking like you need to go and experience. So while I'm carrying on about this, my next one is going to be a YouTube live thing. So obviously where my mind is at, it's about how to do post production for my show, or pre-production for my show or my podcast using YouTube, let's say TikTok, let's say, and again Instagram Live, so IG Live, right? Um, and I want to try YouTube next, okay, just to see if I can do any or all, or use any or all of them. To make sure that I am really just boosting my content creation expansion. I want obviously followers. I'll tell you why. Because when you look at, that when brands look at you, they immediately go and they say, "What? Give me a list of all the followers that you do have." Sure. Then we're going to look at engagement and obviously interaction, impressions, etc., blah blah blah. But they first, like, you do have to obviously increasing that. For me, it's more important to obviously make sure that what I'm saying is it makes sense, right? Is useful for my brand, and then also, like, it's not willy-nilly. So I'm not carbon copying just because someone is doing a two-step and that is getting a billion or bazillion views. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested, right? And not because I'm so much better than that. It's just looks. It's just. Well, I'm sorry. For me, it's dumb. Like, for me, I'm saying to like me to go and sit there and do that for what? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm a media practitioner that's really pushing, innovation within other broadcasters and other practitioners as well. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying is really looking at these things and saying, well, how am I going to stay on brand, right? And really use these different platforms. Anyway, you can, yeah, that makes for its own little short story book, whatever it is that I carried on about there. I'm sure it did make have some use for you. Basics, okay. Basics. I'm not going to really going to go deep into this because we've gone through it a billion times. Service elements. So make sure that your show has a balance of all service elements, from IDs and stings to full-bodied links, to news, sports, to promos, spot placement, etc., etc. Right. Enthusiasm and passion and buy-in. Right. So you must be passionate about everything you are doing on air, because that is your job. Finished. Right. Okay. We can't have a bored presenter. We can't have a distanced presenter. We can't have like a sarcastic presenter, sarcastic about the product, whatever it is, from a song that you obviously have just played. to promoting a digital activation to cross promoting to other shows. If you don't know, no, if you don't, how can you expect that your listener will now have some kind of buy-in? They won't. They'll be like, mm-mm. Again, if you here's the thing, like if you go and you eat at a restaurant, and let's say you're not happy with the meal, and you tell that manager, eat, like, this would be funny anyway, but it's like, eat this fruit, uh piece of steak or this chicken, yeah, so we can both get salmonella together, and let them. I don't know. I think it's funny anyway. But I got fried chicken. Good God. Anyway, I would make him eat it in front of me to be like, do you like it? Do you like it? I would expect that the buy-in should come from them first before I can even go more forward to say, okay, well then I have no reason to complain, I suppose, just to kind of like dilute the my never ever coming back to that restaurant, or never ever listening to a station again anyway. Right. So, okay. Just that was just a bit silly. All right. So cross promote other shows, the web page, the social media handles and content, any competitions that you do have, and of course, please, time management up tops. Right. Okay. It's part of a skill of being a broadcaster. Right. Your performance, so energy. No matter how you feel, you have to bring all your efforts to your work. And if you are sick or you're having a personal issue, then rather please have someone else fill in for you. It's totally normal to be a human being. You're totally normal to be sick, and don't go on there. You probably in another job would maybe have to go to work. You understand? But with this, because it is you are the product and the product is you, you're not going to sound great, and it's going to have a ripple effect on a lot of different things. Right? So just get someone else, please, to fill in for you. All right. So with your character, we want unique individuals on air. Be sure that you do bring your A game to the show and amplify your personality by five, and performing for your listener to keep them captivated to an interesting, as an interesting individual, should I say there, right? All right. Authentic, never put on a farce of who you are on air. It will require half your attention to maintain that fake person, which now you could have used. Ah, man, it could have been used in putting that effort into your show. Please don't do it. People also know when you're fake. Okay. So chemistry, I'm saying in everyday life. So they're gonna definitely know that this person is someone that might be so very vapid and plastic and whatever, and they're just gonna be like, ah, like even if they sound okay, they don't sound okay to me. All right, so chemistry. If it's team chemistry or chemistry between you and your listener, be very charismatic. Like, just have that. So there's a that confidence that people love. That's charisma when you are magnetic. They just they love you. They don't like you. They love you. Be charismatic enough to maintain top notch chemistry. Talking to or talking at the listener, talk to them, not at them. Talking to your listener yields an immediate bond and changes the way that you do present. With imaging and money matters, that's the thing. Imaging exists to clean up and add salt to your show. You know that, right? It's mandatory. Entertaining your audience, right? Above all, be entertaining. No great radio was ever achieved without great entertainment. So, this is what I want you to do. I'd like you to do, right? Apply the important half dozen to your show when you are snooping yourself, right? I constantly do that without having to now go through the half dozen. You know that we've been through this for about, is it 5 weeks? Yeah, just no, this is the fifth week right now. I'm saying of snoops, but 6 weeks of class, just so we don't confuse stuff here, right? Anyway, but we've been doing that pretty much throughout our lessons. Session, shall I say, suggest improvements for areas in which the show is not reaching a requirement. We've been doing that from the very beginning. So let's continue on this way. I am super happy for you. So far, the mark's great. or like generally, and your performance because of the dedication. Just want to say, maybe you're not even going to watch this video, but it doesn't matter. Like if you do, you get to this point. Like like this is the difference between attending, like, and committing, which which I know we had a bit of an issue with in the first semester, but like this is how, like, us connecting and us listening to one another, me and you to each other and working has really, really, you guys have really improved so much. And again, it's sounding great. Now let's make sure that it continues to sound great and we don't go backwards. Okay. All right, that's the end of the lesson. I'll see you in the very last one.